How you doing?
Very good. And you?
Very good, very good. Lots of cold in Greece, but I believe it's nothing compared for you in Sweden, right?
No, but I mean, we sort of have the clothes for it.
Okay. New studio installment for Sabaton, the title, The War to End All Wars. So, how's the morale in the Sabaton barracks?
Pretty happy about the new album. Pretty pissed off that we haven't been able to play much for the last 2 years.
Okay, that is reasonably. We will say something afterwards. You will understand why. So, The War to End All Wars is due to be released on March the 4th by nuclear blast. From the event that started the First World War in Sarajevo to the steep, snowy slopes of the Alps and the Christmas truce of 1914 on the trenches. What are the war stories that we are going to hear on this new album?
We tried to get a big old mix in because this one is like the second album we do about the First World War. And already when we were doing the Great War, the previous album, there were stories we wanted to tell, but we didn't have the music, that was right for it. And two of those stories are, Christmas Truce, but also Hellfighters. And then there are some stories that, we had never heard of until we did Great War, where a lot of fans started giving us ideas on, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? So, I think White Friday and what we do on Soldier of Heaven is an example, or The Unkillable Soldier, Adrian Carton de Viart, and, really a madman, really. And it's a good mix of what we wanted to do. We finally got to do everything we set out to, even with the Great War. We managed to plug those holes. I think we also managed to cover the southern and Balkan side of things a little bit better than we did on the Great War.
So something that I wanted to ask is, what is the preparation of, as you said before, picking, selecting, and of course the research behind the stories throughout the history that we are hearing on Sabaton? What is the procedure in making a Sabaton song?
In many cases, it's all different. So I can't really say it's always like this, but I can give you an example, which would be the most common thing. And that is that we have a conflict or an event or a battle in mind when writing the music, or most of the music anyway. Sometimes it's just a musical idea that then gets completed with a topic in mind. At a certain point, there might be some words for the lyrics coming into our heads, but not certainly, not absolutely certain. Possibly a word here and there, and then we write the lyrics afterwards. A few times we don't even know what the song is about. It's just a song. And then we have to try and find the right story for that song, which can be tricky. And sometimes we just have a story we really want to tell, but we have no music for it.
Okay. Hearing the new album, I noticed, as I could say, more anthemic, maybe mid-tempo songs than his predecessors. What do you believe is the most notable change on the new album in comparison to the Great War?
One of the things that strikes me is the production. It's not totally different, but it's a better version in a way. I think Jonas really outdid himself. It's probably the best sound we ever had on an album. And it's one thing, you always go back at some point and listen to our older albums before we start a new one. Like, what can we learn, And one of the things I was really happy about with Great War was sort of the darker atmosphere and the songwriting and stuff like that. Some songs are, you never know when you're in the middle of things, but, a year later you realize, maybe that wasn't the greatest song, but that's stuff that's going to happen anyway. Otherwise you'll end up doing Chinese democracy like Guns N' Roses. It takes 20 years. So you have to take some chances. But one thing I noted about the Great War that I didn't like was, it wasn't the fault of one song, but rather the whole production. Towards the end of the album, when you listen to the whole album from the beginning to the end, your ears were tired. You know what I mean? Possibly because of, the massive, crazy last song before In Flanders Field, the end of the war to end all wars. And I think you don't think about it when you listen to one song or two songs or three songs, but when you listen to the whole album, there was something, and I'm talking about, a technical issue here in the production, that a mistake that we made, that it becomes harsh and listened to in the long run. And so we managed somehow to get it harder but less harsh on this album, which I think is a really cool thing about it.
Very good. Okay, about the new artwork, my interpretation. We see a dying soldier tangled on a barbed wire. Okay, from my perspective, it seems like a bit allegoric. The war ended, as a newspaper mentioned beside him, but the losses are there, as the soldier symbolizes in all Europe back then. What made you say that this is the artwork we want for the new album, and what it means for you guys?
Oh, it's hard to see what it is, because I'm what you call visually challenged or impaired. My talents really lie in the audio part of these things. With music and with sound and music production and everything around it, I can express myself. I know what's right, what's wrong, what should be done. With the visual stuff, no matter if it's an artwork or a music video, I can say I like this because it feels right. But what makes it feel right, I don't know. And in this case, when I saw that was, not the final product, but already when I saw the first draft, I really liked the atmosphere, and it felt like it represented the music we had planned very well. Other than that, I'm sorry, I don't really know. I know there's after a while when we worked with it, there's a lot. I don't know if you have a small or a large version, but there's a lot of Easter eggs and references to what's in the album there. And we really love that kind of artwork gave us that opportunity to add those Easter eggs. And that's the representation of that song, and that's a representation of that song, and we could get not all the album, but almost all of it in for references. But the thing, what it represents to me, I don't know, actually. It just felt right.
Did you have any difficulties making the album? Any particular song that was tricky making it, or any fun story making the album?
Tricky would be Christmas Truce, because it was the first one written, and it was one of the best stories we've ever heard. I mean, obviously, we've known about the Christmas Truce since we were children, basically. The pressure of it's going to be the first song to be written about the new album, because we decided we were going to do another one, and one of the best stories deserves one of the best songs, sort of. So the pressure, because it was also, we, in a sense, will set the standard for the rest of the songwriting process. So really, probably the one song I spent the most time with working on actively,
Okay, the first videos for the promotion of the album were a lyric and a music video for Christmas Truce and Soldier of Heaven most recently.
Yeah.
What made you choose those two? And I remember there is some animated videos, if I remember right. Can we expect... Yes, please.
Well, we are... with the Christmas Truce, we wanted to lead with that, not because it was, we released it in October. It's not intentional to be a Christmas song, but it's a song about military history. It happens to take time in Christmas, just like fucking D-Day happened to take place on the 6th of June. But like we did on Blood of Bannockburn, we put bagpipes to set the scene. We have bagpipes to make people, associate this song with Scotland. Just like we had small bells and stuff in Christmas Truce to sort of make people connect this song with Christmas. And when we made the video, we already decided pretty early that we didn't want it to be a regular music video, but rather a sort of mini movie where our music might be the soundtrack instead. So by far the biggest music video production we ever did. And the guys who did it, it's actually a Czech movie production team. They don't do music videos until now. But I think they did a really good job. And it's really, really old school as well. I mean, not like 1930s, but more like 1970s or 80s, possibly even 90s filming of, because there's not too much computer generated stuff. All the explosions are explosions that we ran through when recording. It's not added later in the computer. We were covered in dirt. When we are firing guns and you see muzzle flashes, those are real muzzle flashes and not computer generated, which adds a whole different filmic quality to it. It makes it feel older and look older. Always when you do computer generated graphics, there's even at top level, there's a chance of things looking a mix of new and old, and then it doesn't look real anymore.
Can we expect any more videos promoting the album?
Yes,
of course.
Two more.
2 more. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking to the Nuclear Blast web store, and I'm seeing a lot of versions of the album. Many editions, digipacks, jewel case, many colorful vinyls. Something that I noticed is cassettes.
Yes.
And it's something that is coming up around. Do you believe cassettes, at least on a collector's perspective, it's back on the menu? I can see that you had almost...
Actually, it's more of a fun thing, I've never released a cassette in my life. That's the edition I'm most psyched about. And I don't even own a cassette player anymore. But I want them all. But I see it's not a secret. Vinyl is growing, and it's growing by a huge percentage rate, but still it's only like 1.5 or 2.5% of the total music sales. So it's not like vinyl is coming back big times, but yes, vinyl is coming back to music enthusiasts and collectors. I can see that keeping on going for vinyl for sure, but for cassette, I think that's something you buy more as a funny memorabilia, nostalgic thing for a laugh, and that's what I would want to do.
Okay, as we said about cassettes, what is your opinion about streaming platforms? More and more artists are not fond of streaming platforms, at least heavy metal artists, as I can see. What is your opinion about streaming platforms?
Well, it's different depending on the platform. What I don't like could be misconstrued as it's in my own interest, but I think in many cases the compensation for the artists is way too low. But that being said, the whole idea of having access to so much music in your phone, I love the idea of it. I just don't like maybe how they executed it in detail. I think they exist because of artists who have made music over years, and they should compensate them a little bit more. I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to make the money out of what they created as well, because it's a great thing. And what I really, really love is that music has not gone the way of film and TV, where you need to see TV. The beginning was great because you could pay for, several to one place, a subscription, and you get access to almost all the TV and all the movies out there. And now everybody's trying to protect their own IPs, which I understand in a sense. But then now, if you want to watch TV or see films, you need to be a subscriber to 5 different fucking platforms,
Yes.
While with music, at least, thank God, it's still like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. Not everything is on every platform, but you don't have to choose based on the fact that you're a fan of Sabaton or Rammstein or Bon Jovi. That is not forcing you to use Apple Music, Amazon, or, Tidal or YouTube Music.
Okay, do you believe tours are now doable? Because we have vaccinations. People are getting vaccinated, and the first heavy metal tours are starting to announce. We're expecting you on the 21st of July here in Greece, and some of us have these tickets for 2 years now.
Yes, trust me, we are at least as tired of waiting, because we are used to doing over 100 concerts per year. We did like 12 or 15 in the last 2 years.
I'm still remembering the tank on stage,
Yeah. No, I think we should be able to go out, and at this point in time now, if we are not able to tour, I certainly will blame all the politicians in all the countries necessary for this tour, at least in that case, because in a situation here, which is a luxury thing, but everybody who wanted a vaccination has had the opportunity to get one. Of course, we're not talking about other countries now, but those are not countries we are planning into touring at this moment. There are in places where they have the access to the vaccine, but that's a whole different discussion. But at this point now, if they needed more hospital beds, the politicians had 2 fucking years to sort that out. You know, if they wanted more people to get vaccinated, whatever they wanted to do, we're at a certain point where the amount of population that needs to be protected, and there is, it is better to sort of protect them than stop the rest of society. Because I'm not talking only about heavy metal or music. I'm talking about people losing their livelihoods, people sitting in lockdowns and not being able to go on with their lives, you know.
Okay, one question that I like to ask to many artists: do you believe that the pandemic unintentionally made a new way for creativity for the artists, with so many collaborations and Canadian songs throughout those 2 years?
No, I don't think it brought on anything new, but it might have accelerated a process that's already started. That whole thing. I think where we are at the moment, with no matter if it's streaming, collaborating with other artists, doing more things online, whatever you're thinking of here, I think it all would have happened at one point sooner or later, but this pandemic didn't create it, but it certainly accelerated that process. That what now has come about in 2 years might have taken us 5 or 6 years otherwise.
I believe that in many countries that you go, they have a Sabbath song that represents them. We Greeks have coat of arms, for example.
Yes.
How do you feel when you play that song to them, seeing the reactions of the people, you know, saying the song for them?
That is one of the best things ever. I mean, especially playing a song about a place, a city, or a country in that place, city, or country for the first time. It's always a sort of a memory that I will, I can't say never forget, but I remember most of them, you know. I remember the first time we played a lot of these songs and announced them on stage, and seeing the reaction, even before we started playing the song, only by announcing the name of the song and seeing the crowd. And then I remember something, I don't know if it's typical Greek, but, even, before I start singing, people are singing along to the guitar riffs and everything. And that's like, what the fuck? I can hear you guys over the monitors singing the theme or, the melody or harmonies of Coat of Arms. And, even if it's that or playing Winged Hussars in Vienna or in Poland,
Yeah, we are like that, believe me. Okay, some more generic questions. Which bands do you believe influenced Sabaton? Favorite bands that you have?
I think we're talking about, musically, Sabaton really has its roots in the classic 80s hard rock and metal, catchy hard rock, 80s hard rock and metal. Maybe not so much the hair metal trend, but for sure Judas Priest, Accept, Yngwie Malmsteen, that school of hard rock to some certain extent. Yeah, maybe even Bon Jovi. But I wouldn't say much of maybe not Poison or Rat, but the more traditional 80s hard rock and metal.
Okay.
Twisted Sister, sure.
Yeah, Twisted Sister. What other bands are you listening to this time around?
Oh, at the moment, I'm really everywhere. I just saw that Battle Beast released something new. I heard for the first time the other day, and I thought it was fucking good. Great return to form. And at the same time, I was listening to the new ABBA album. And then also just the other day, I was into some sort of Johann Sebastian Bach revival, where I tried to listen to the whole St. John and St. Matthew Passion and, documentaries online. So I'm really a spread out music listener. I'm not much into hip hop or jazz or that side of music, obviously. But everything from basically classical music to 70s disco to death metal is okay.
Okay, a tough one for you, Joakim. If you had to choose between keyboards and to be behind a mic, what it should be?
Personally and emotionally, I feel more at home behind the keyboards, and I've always identified myself that way until a few years ago when I realized that I don't play enough, so I'm not so good anymore. So it's a bit tricky. From a Sabaton perspective, and thinking of it as a smart business decision, it would be stupid of me to sort of be behind the keyboard and not sing. But yeah, there comes a lot of sacrifices with being a singer that I don't enjoy. So I don't know which one to choose actually, but my initial reaction, I don't know if it's wrong or right, is still keyboarder and composer, not singer. That's something I became by accident, but maybe I have to realize that a frontman of a band is more of what I do these days.
Any memories from the first time you went on stage?
First time on stage as a singer, I was fucking almost pissing and shitting myself because I was so nervous. Took me years to get past that. Also because I knew I was shit, I was the singer they had until they found a singer. So, of course, I wasn't musically stupid. I mean, we weren't the best band, but I mean, I was an okay keyboard player at the time, and I could be proud of what I could do at keyboard at the time. But even I knew at that time that my singing was shit. But I was the one who was least shit at it in the band. So I guess I was stuck with it. So it's hard to go out and perform well and be ashamed of your capabilities.
Any memories from the worst or best show you had? Any funny moments?
For the first couple of shows, you mean?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, there were some really Spinal Tap moments in the early days, because obviously you didn't have that many concerts. So when you had a concert, it was a party. I mean, if you do 150 concerts in a year, and if you drink crazy every time, you're going to be an alcoholic or dead. But when you do, 8 to 15 shows a year, then it's a party because it's great. And of course, with those parties came, strange situations. We've had everything from, nothing bad really, just funny and stupid, I remember also one book, I'm not going to name the city or the place here now, but we were playing at a community house once. And the guy who booked the show, he was a Sabaton fan, and he had a bunch of Sabaton friends who were fans, and he had some girls he was trying to hit on who were also Sabaton fans. So he booked us to that show. I don't know how many people came, 100 maybe, And after we were done, they had a few beers with us, and then they just said, bye, we're going to the after party. And then they locked the door because they didn't want us to take the girls. And there we are sitting in some kind of community house somewhere in Sweden in, I don't know, 2003, 2000, something like that, 4 maybe. And there is no food. I mean, obviously we have water in the taps, so we're not going to die. But we're fucking locked in. And they're going to a party, the after party, and we're not fucking invited.
Okay.
That was like, this is not what I expected.
That's not what that I came for. Any memories that you had visiting Greece? Any funny moments there? We're a little bit crazy bastards, you know that by now.
Yes, actually, it's not a funny moment, but rather a profound moment for me. I was the first time we played Athens. I guess it's 2008 or 9, and I remember this because it was such a surreal situation for me. We came there, I think something was missing. We had to borrow a bass for Per and borrow guitars because our equipment got lost. I can't remember, but at least some rental or borrowed instruments were there. We're playing in the middle of the show, and I remember us playing Ghost Division. And in the middle of that song, everything sort of went into slow motion. And this is something, I mean, it takes a long time for me to tell this now, but this is something that happened, a thought process that happened in my head over the course of a few seconds. But still, it's like everything goes almost into slow motion. I'm like, oh, wait, what's happening here? I'm here. I'm in Greece, in Athens. Obviously, I've heard about the city, but I've never been here before. We've never played here before. We are here, and there's, I don't know how many people were there, but I mean, the maximum capacity of the place can't be more than 300, and it wasn't full. So, I mean, we're talking less than that. But I'm here in Greece, and a lot of people still came to listen to a Swedish band, and I've never been here before. And how did I end up here? And oh shit, I haven't had another job in 2 years. Wow, I guess I'm a professional musician. And then, all right, I'm having fun. I can live with that. And then, boom, my mind goes back to the song. You know.
Okay, something that you regret throughout your career?
Well, yeah. I mean, some mistakes we did, of course, surprisingly little actually, because a lot of the mistakes we learn from. You know, and us somehow, you know, our growth, you know, and coming to where we are has taken us a long time. I mean, we've been doing this for over 20 years, and there are bands who started 5 years ago who are sort of larger than us, you know. So some of that felt like a regret at the time, but, you know, to be honest, we couldn't get a proper management or a proper booking agency in the beginning. But I know why now. We weren't fucking good enough, you know. We were shit. Why the fuck would they work with us? And we were at the same time smart enough not to sign these crazy asshole deals, you know. So we had to do things on our own and learn the hard way. So we did a lot of mistakes that we wouldn't have done, you know, if we would have had, you know, a proper management or, you know, a normal management deal and stuff like that. By doing so much ourselves, we did a lot of stupid shit, but we also did a lot of shit that wasn't supposed to work, but somehow worked for us, you know, that we might have not done if we had those other opportunities. So, yeah, in general, quite few regrets, actually.
Last message to your fans, Joakim?
Well, very simple. Thank you for the good times. If it's one country, it's always good to play in. It's Greece. Fucking hell. Even if the venue might not be the largest or the stage might not be the most impressive we've seen, the fucking crowd reaction always kills what we get up north, you know.
Okay, Joakim, thank you for your time. See you in July on the trenches. Okay.
I hope so. Take care, man.
Thank you very much, my friend. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day.